Hello everybody and welcome to week 3 of emergency response operations. So this week we're going to cover portable fire extinguishers, which is a pretty important topic because I guess you could say unlike a lot of this other stuff where you may or may not be exposed to it within your facility, every facility out there is going to have portable fire extinguishers. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. First thing I want to talk about is just a real quick refresher from week 1, and that's the fire triangle and the fire tetrahedron. As you guys know, 3 parts of the fire triangle are oxygen, fuel, and heat. And then with the fire tetrahedron, we add in the chemical reaction aspect of it. And this is really important for the fire extinguisher portion of this class because every fire extinguisher we use is going to take care of one of those 3 things. It's either going to suffocate the fire and basically blow away all the oxygen. It's going to cool it, cool the fuel to the point that that takes away the heat. It's going to isolate the fuel to the point where there's the vapors of the fuel isn't there, or it's going to interrupt the chemical reaction. They could work in many different ways, but at the end of the day, if one of those things goes out, the fire is going to go out. So I wanted to make sure we review that ahead of time. And then I also wanted to review the 5 different classes of fires. And again, this is a review from the first week. We've got class A, B, C, D, and K. And A would be your ordinary combustibles, your paper, your wood, just normal things that burn, things that at the end of the day, when the fire is done, it's going to be an ash. Class B would be your flammable liquids or your gases. Class C would be your energized electrical equipment. Class D would be your combustible metals. And then Class K would be kitchen fires. And we talk about that specific because there's special types of fire extinguishers for that. And these are commercial kitchens, so you don't necessarily have to worry about the fire extinguisher within your home. Oh, is that a Class K or not? These are large commercial kitchen type ideas. So if you have a giant deep fryer, what do you do for that? So when we look at our fire extinguishing agents, we really have 5 main ones we look at. Water, carbon dioxide, halogenated agents. This is also called your clean agents. Dry chemical and dry powder. And it's very important to recognize that dry powder is not the same as dry chemical. If you put dry powder on a regular fire, most likely nothing's going to happen at all. It's not going to put out the fire, but it's certainly not going to make things worse. If you put dry chemical onto a metal fire that dry powder is designed for, well, you're going to end up having an explosion. So you do have to recognize that there is a very significant difference between those two, between the dry powder and the dry chemical. So, as we start getting into different fire extinguishers, we're going to start with the water extinguisher. And as you're going to see from the other videos that you watched, I put a lot of videos in there because honestly the manufacturer can tell you more about it than I can. But this is the most common agent to use to put out fires is water. And that's probably because fire departments, that's what they do. They come in with a truck, they hook up to the hydrant, and they put lots and lots of water on there. But that can work for us as well. So if you look at a water extinguisher, for one, it's the one extinguisher that's always going to be in this chrome color. Water extinguishers are always chrome, and I don't know exactly why that is. Or maybe I should say chrome is always a water extinguisher. I guess not all water extinguishers would be chrome, but all chrome is a water extinguisher. So this works primarily by cooling. What it does is it cools down the fuel to the point that the fire goes out. It's only used on Class A fires. It cannot be used on B, C, K, or B, C, or D fires. If you put water onto a Class B fire, all you're going to do is spread the fuel. I'm sure we've heard the stories about a small grease fire. You hit it with water, and all of a sudden now you just put your fuel all over the rest of the room. And Class C, for obvious reasons. Energized electrical equipment, you're dealing with water, it's going to come back and it's going to shock you. Now, these water extinguishers, they may include additives, such as foam. So, the foam that's used is called AFFF, AFFF, and that stands for aqueous film-forming foam. What it does is it's basically soap. And so what will happen is as you spray it, and this is specifically on a foam would be on a Class B fire, you put it down and it makes a blanket over the top and seals off the fuel. And then the Class K, it has special additives to keep it together in real heat, in real high heat. The pros of water extinguishers, they're very inexpensive to refill. I mean, basically, you fill it up, you take an air compressor to the end, charge it up, and you're done. The cons, they are prone to freezing, and you could say that they're kind of limited in what they can do as well. I mean, you got to be in a place where there's Class A hazards, but not B or C, in order to really make these efficient or effective. So that they are good, but there's a lot of limitations as well. The next thing we want to talk about is carbon dioxide. And with carbon dioxide, it works by displacing the oxygen. Now, it's going to come out very, very, very cold, but not cold to the point of cooling down the fuel. What's going to happen is it's going to come out, push all the oxygen away. It's going to go away. As that carbon dioxide dissipates, it's going to lose any additional cooling factors. So these are primarily used on Class C fires. They do have some limited effectiveness on Class B. They're all going to be rated for Class B. They'll work, but not as well as a lot of the other agents we talk about. It tends not to work well on Class A fires, especially if you really have to get into the seat of the fire. If it's a trash can or something like that, then yeah, you could probably use it, but it's really not rated for it. It's really not designed for it. Some pros. The biggest thing is it does not leave a residue at all, which makes it safe for electronics. Basically, you're just putting another gas in the area. You're not doing anything that's going to damage the actual electronics. Water obviously has the issue. You can start corroding. A lot of your dry chemical, same thing, is very corrosive to electronics, so you have to be very careful with that as well. So it leaves no residue, so it's safe for electronics. The cons, it does tend to be pretty expensive. Trying to refill one of these is not as simple as refilling a dry chem extinguisher, for example. You actually have to have the tank of carbon dioxide, and it's all pressurized. You have to worry about that. The cone can be very cold when it's discharged. If you look, I'm going to take my pencil here. See that part right there? That's the part you actually hold. The reason is, let's see if I can change the color on this. Go with blue. This part right here, as the carbon dioxide comes out, it's going to get very, very, very cold. If you're touching that, you could get frostbite from that, so you got to be careful. The other thing is you do run a risk of static discharge building up at the cone as well. So what will happen, there's just the gas is flowing so fast, you build a static discharge. So if you are in a flammable atmosphere, that could cause a problem as well. So the next agent we want to talk about is our clean agent extinguishers. These would be things, Halon is one. Different manufacturers have their own, like Ansel's Clean Guard, and I'm not sure what Amarex's is, but basically it's a special blend. Certain one of these have started kind of going away. For example, Halon was very, very, very popular. I think it was 1308 was the version. Was very, very popular, and then it found that it helped break down the ozone layer, so that was banned, and they found more and more different ones to use. Very, very common in computer server rooms and in aviation. The plane that I've flown in before, we have a halon extinguisher just because we don't want to go and corrode all of our avionics. If there is a fire, we want to be able to put out the fire and have it be done so we can get on the ground. So computer rooms, aviation, things like that. Again, the pro is it's very safe around sensitive electronics. It's kind of what it's designed for. It's also considerably costlier than the other types of extinguishers. And then if in a high enough concentration, you can actually create an IDLH atmosphere. It's not really a portable extinguisher, but a lot of companies will have fixed systems very, very similar. So that if there's a big fire in a server room, basically it just floods the room with this agent and that puts the fire out, and it doesn't damage any of the other servers around. And then we get into dry chemical extinguishers, and this is probably the most common thing people think of when they think about a dry chemical extinguisher, is one of these three. So they come in three different formats, really. So one would be the stored pressure, and this is what you're going to see just pretty much on any given wall. It works really well. It's there for light fire hazards. Um, most of these are ABC extinguishers, so they should work fine. 2 is what's called the cartridge operated extinguisher. Let me change my color again. So the difference here is, if you look inside this tank, inside the tank, it's just full of extinguishing agent. There's nothing else actually in there. There's no compressed gas. Where if you look at this one, all of this is in suspension. So you have the compressed gas in here as well. You also have all the agents. So what happens is when you pull the pin and discharge it, the agent actually, I apologize for this. This is not that great, but it gives you the demonstration. The agent will actually, or the compressed gas will push the agent down. There's a filler tube at the bottom which takes it back up to the nozzle to go out. So, so this one, number 2, the cartridge operator, that's just agent in there. Under this little guard, there's a little compressed gas cylinder. And what happens is you remove the hose, and there's a handle. There we go. There's a handle right here. And you push that down, that pushes the pin into the compressed gas, and then that charges this hull. The good news is you're not relying on a filler tube to bring it all the way in. You can put out a tremendous amount of fire with either 20 or a 30-pound extinguisher like this. It's really impressive on how much you can put out. And then for the real big fires, you start getting into wheeled units. And wheeled units like this one here is anywhere from 150 to 350 pounds, depending on where you're at. Again, I got a video at the end. You can put out a lot of fire with one of these. Fuel depots and things like that is someplace to consider. There are, of course, hazards that come with it. You have to know what you're doing. A lot of people think you operate just like any other fire extinguisher, and all the principles are similar. They are just a little bit different. So with all of your dry chemical, you want to use them as marked. They're often ABC extinguishers. You can use them on Class A, Class B, and Class C fires, but not always. Now, light fire protection, I guess that depends. I was really looking at the stored pressure one, is light fire potential. You get these two, you can put out a lot of fires with those. And then each one is operated uniquely. There's videos for you to do this week that shows all the different types and kind of how to operate and things like that. Then we start getting into dry powder extinguishers. And these are very specifically designed for Class D fires. Now, this isn't a one-size-fits-all. So if you're dealing with aluminum, you have to find a Class D extinguisher that's used for aluminum, or sodium or magnesium. You want to make sure you match the extinguisher to the actual to the fuel. So you can't necessarily mix and match. Some of them you might be able to, but you still want to double check. Okay. So then as we're getting into our fire extinguisher performance ratings, every fire extinguisher is going to have something. It's going to have the letter. And it could be A, it could be ABC, it could be AB. All depends on what it is. It could be a D or it could be a K. And then if it's if it's an A or B, you're also going to have a number. Excuse me. And that number is going to be anywhere from 1A to a 40A or 1B to a 640B. And what that number, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but what that number is based on how much fire it can put out. So for example, a 1A, it says it's the equivalent of 1 3/4 gallons or 5 liters of water. So you have to look at how much fire it's going to put out compared to how much water you would take. Now Class B, this is going to tell you about how many square foot. So a 1B is going to be a 1 square foot. A 640B is going to be 640 square feet. So this is probably going to be one of your wheeled. And this is based on the area that for a non-expert firefighter. So it's kind of interesting if you actually go up to Ansel and go through their class. They'll talk to you and show you their professional firefighters putting out fires, and they will take one of these extinguishers and they'll take a 20 by 20 area and they will put it out with a small extinguisher because it's an expert firefighter, and then they take that and they base it down on a non-expert could do 40% of it or whatever the case is. And then you're also going to have your symbols. So you have your class A, your class B, C, D, or K. So A is going to be your green triangle, B is going to be your red square, C is going to be your blue circle, D is going to be your yellow star, and then K is going to be your black pentagon. I guess that's the septagon, I'm sorry. So these are what your symbols are going to be. Now, a lot of times they're also putting these pictures on, and these pictures make sense, really. I mean, you have a burning trash can, you have a can, you have a plug and cord set, you have a piece that looks like a gear that's on fire, and then you have a frying pan on fire. So it does kind of tell you what to expect. So now as we're getting into the actually deciding whether or not there's to use a fire extinguisher, get to the point of actually using the fire extinguisher, the first thing we have to decide on is, do we want to fight the fire or not? Not every fire needs to be fought. Some of these we need to, some of these we may need to hold off on. Some of these we don't have the equipment. Some of it's the hazards are too much. The very first rule of any type of rescue is protect yourself. If it's too big for you to get in there and fight the fire, then don't go in there and fight the fire. So that's always the very first decision, is to fight or not to fight. And then after that, we have to look and select and inspect our fire extinguisher. So we want to make sure we pick the right one. We want to make sure we know what the class of fire is. We want to know how big it is. Can we just grab that tiny little 2B that's on the wall, or do we need to grab a wheeled unit, or do we need to grab a cartridge operated unit? So we want to select and inspect the extinguisher. Now the inspection is very, very, very quick. It's not something that takes a long time. You want to take a quick look at the external condition. Is it rusted? Is it pitted? Are there any problems? Again, this is what you're going to be going into the fire with to protect yourself. So we want to check the external condition. Then check the hose and the nozzle. Is it attached? I've had some that the hose was only on there like 1/2 turn. So you want to make sure that's on there. Now, this is all stuff that should be checked during the course of your monthly inspections, but before you go and fight the fire, you want to do just a very quick check to make sure. The third one is weight. Does it feel as heavy as it's supposed to feel? If you grab it and it feels light, it feels like it could be empty, then it's empty. Then you just let it go. And the very last one is check the pressure gauge. And where is the pressure gauge? Ideally, you're going to want it in the green. Green will be smack dab in the middle. You'll have red on either side. We'll see that when you guys come out in April, and we'll spend the entire morning just doing nothing but fire extinguishers. So after that, after we've selected and inspected the extinguisher, first thing we want to do is test the fire extinguisher. That's not one of those things a lot of people talk about, but in our classes we tell people to test the fire extinguisher. You want to make sure that it's going to work before you go all the way. Approach to the wind to your back, and then you think of the pass symbol, or the password, in order to operate the fire extinguisher. You're actually going to need to do the first part before you test. But the pass is, is PASS, pull the, excuse me again. All right. So the P is pull the pin. That's the very first thing. There's a lot of people have went in to try to fight a fire. They never pull the pin, and they don't run into problems. So pull the pin. You aim the hose and the nozzle at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle, and then you sweep at the base of the fire. So it's pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. And when we start talking about sweeping, there's two different ways we can talk about this, and we'll discuss it more. There's the standard sweep, and that's what everybody talks about, and you go briskly from side to side, but you have to make sure you hit the corner. The other one is the cut method. And basically you start at one end, and you move slowly across the edge. And as you do that, you put more and more and more and more agent onto that area. It actually works very, very well, especially for a ground fire. It works very well. I was impressed at how easy it was. Next thing we want to talk about is multiple extinguishers. It is fine to use more than one extinguishers at the same time. But if you look at the last bullet point, you only get one shot with an extinguisher. If you can't put out the fire with an extinguisher, then you have to back out. You have to call 911. But that doesn't mean you can't have two people going together with a fire in order to put it out. And what they found is that two extinguishers together is actually 3 times as effective. Because what happens is as the streams hit each other, they break each other apart. They get down and actually get into that fire that much more. So here's a video. Here's a video that I took when I was at a fire class. So they're going to light this truck on fire. You're going to see it's big. And these are wheeled units, so there's a lot of it. But you see how the two of them are working together? They're going up more or less at the same time. And you see up at the top, those agents are coming together, working against one another. And they got it out. So again, I mean, especially you look at those wheeled units, you can put out a lot of fire with that. When you're doing your monthly inspection, there's a couple things you want to look at. First of all, is it in the right place? And is it accessible? Is it hidden behind boxes? Is it hidden behind product? Or can you actually get to it? The nozzle and the horn are unobstructed. Nobody's put bubble gum at the bottom of the nose, or the nozzle, I'm sorry. The hose is free of cracks, dirt, and grease. The shell is free of damage. Instructions are there and they're legible. The seal and the pin aren't tampered with. We have all kinds of pictures, stuff like that. People using zip ties to hold the pin in place. Well, okay, yeah, the pin's going to stay there. Fortunately, even when you need it, it's going to stay there as well. Is it filled and fully pressurized? And is the inspection tag correctly completed? You want to make sure all of these are done when you're doing your inspections on your fire extinguishers. If you do have to remove a fire extinguisher from use, either because it's damaged or used, you want to make sure you remove it, obviously. You either want to keep it stored on its side or you in an out-of-service location. You want it marked, that way other people aren't grabbing it to go use a fire extinguisher. And you do have to have repairs made by a qualified person. This probably isn't something you're going to do within your own facility. It's probably something you're going to have a contractor come in to do it. And then you want to replace that extinguisher as soon as possible. And this is the last picture I have. And this is a plant that I was doing an audit on. And I was really impressed with this board. And that's why I took the picture of it. So this board is nothing but fire extinguishers for them to replace. So these aren't designed to be used. They're designed for 2 purposes. Hot work. So if you have to do a fire wash for a hot work, you can grab one of these so you're not taking it off the wall. But also, if they do have to use one within a facility, they can come and grab it off the wall here and get it right back into service. I was very impressed with that, so I thought it was something I'd want to share. So that's all I got. So after this, there's going to be a quiz for it, and for all this information we covered. And then after that, we have a whole bunch of videos just to go through to take we have a whole bunch of videos to learn about the specific types of extinguishers that are out there. I figured it was better for me to just use their information. And that's really it for this week. There's no discussion board. There's no big assignment. There's a number of videos for you to watch with tests. And each test is only, I think the longest one is 7 questions and the shortest is like 2 or 3. So it shouldn't take you a long time. Make sure you actually watch the videos. There's a lot of really good information on those. And like always, if you have any questions, please let me know.